Welcome, everyone, to this briefing brought to you by the Israel Defense and Security Forum, IDSF. In Hebrew, our name is Habitchonistim. IDSF is the leading Israeli organization advocating for strong national security-oriented policies to guide the state of Israel. Thank you to all of our viewers and supporters for tuning into this briefing. It's a great pleasure to be joined today by Colonel Gidi Harari, a retired colonel from the IDF and the head of the first responders team in the northern Moshav of Sha'ar Yashuv, and of course, an expert on the military issues surrounding the northern border. Gidi, thank you so much for coming back and joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me.
So before we talk about Hezbollah and the northern border and what southern Lebanon looks like, let's focus on your home, Sha'ar Yashuv. Tell me, where are you right now, and what is the state of the Jewish communities up on the northern border by Lebanon?
Well, as you said, I'm at home. I didn't leave Sha'ar Yashuv, although I'm alone. But what happened during the last months is that there are people that is coming back home because they cannot stay anymore, or they cannot bear staying anymore out of their homes, and they prefer to be here instead of being in some hotel. And it doesn't matter how good is that hotel, it's not home. So during the last 2 weeks, the population here is increasing. I think that we are about 40% of the population is back in the Moshav. Not in all the places is the same, but in most of the kibbutzim, Moshavim, it's happening the same, because people are very tired of staying out of home. Now, in the other side, there are a lot of people, mostly young families, that hired the places to live more in the south, and their children are studying already in schools in the south. So I believe that they will not come back before the end of the year, the end of the scholar year, which is in the end of June. This is the situation. But it doesn't change the fact that everything is closed. There are no services for the citizens. So it's a problem.
So what is the feeling on the streets there? Do people feel tense because they're living with the possible war, or is it they're trying to return to life as usual?
First of all, let's put things in order. We are in a state of war. All the day you can hear the bombings, the Air Force flying above us 24/7. So there is war. It doesn't matter if the shooting is close to us or not close to us. A few days ago, I woke up in the morning at 6:30, more or less, with the shooting of 100 rockets a few kilometers from my house. So it's not on the Moshav, but we are in a state of war. Don't forget it.
Now, is there any concern that as the civilian population returns to their homes, because they just don't want to be evacuated, that alone could cause a security threat for Israel that could inspire Hezbollah to find a prime opportunity to attack?
No, I don't think that Hezbollah is seeking to attack a civilian population. It's not that they didn't, but they did it on the places that are located literally on the border. But it is dangerous, because these rockets it's enough that one rocket will fall in the wrong place, and it's another story already.
And how many seconds do you have in your moshav when the siren goes off to seek shelter?
Between 7 to 15 seconds.
Wow. Wow.
It's you should be running like Usain Bolt in order to be safe.
So, I mean, that explains why younger families are hesitant to return, you know, getting the children and running like that cannot be easy. Okay, so now let's hope that people are able to return and return to their way of life, and your moshav becomes a very happy place again in the near future. But let's kind of zoom out. You joined me a few weeks ago. You gave us a really powerful update on what's happening on the northern border with Hezbollah. So what can you share with us in terms of escalations or developments over the past 2 weeks with Hezbollah?
Well, the last 2 weeks we had an escalation from both sides, because Hezbollah started to fire rockets in a massive way from standard rocket launchers. So this is how you get in 2 minutes, more or less, between 80 to 100 rockets. And this didn't happen before. In the IDF, of course, the response was similar. The IDF attacked with the Air Force in Baalbek, 100 kilometers in the north, with very specific attack on strategic places for Hezbollah. And in the last 2 weeks, this is the way of this strange war, the way it's going. And there is a big danger that without wanting both sides to develop a whole war, it will happen. It might be. This is the danger, without wanting it. Because either them or us shooting the rocket and hitting the wrong place, and everything can be exploding and going all in. I hope it will not happen if we decide that we want to go all in this war. It should be very well planned, and not through a mistake that will be done by some local operation. That's why I'm very worried about it. I hope it won't happen.
Your concern is on the Israel side or within Lebanon that would accidentally, so to speak, happen?
Both sides. Both sides. Either we, during all the bombs and everything, all the attacks, will hit civilians. Either them will hit civilians in our side. This is the issue that can make everything explode.
Now, these escalations from Hezbollah, the exponential increase of their rockets, do you think this is part of a strategy that every few weeks they're going to continue increasing, or is it just happening this way?
Well, it's interesting. It's a good question. I believe that they are trying to show their capabilities to us. They want us to send us a message that they can, and they have. Not that we don't know it, but they are trying to show off, and they are trying to send a message that they are helping their Palestinians brothers. It doesn't say that every 2 weeks it will go another escalation, but we are in a very, very dangerous point now. Everything is very volatile.
Right. Now, comparing a little bit Hezbollah to Hamas, we know, of course, out of Gaza, there was that barrage of rockets that began this war, but really it was the infiltrations that hit Israel the hardest. In terms of Hezbollah's military assets or their strategies, is rockets the greatest threat that they have, or is it the Radwan warriors? Is it their troops on the ground that potentially is a bigger concern for Israel in the long run?
The biggest concern for the people that live in the north is the infiltration to Israel. This is the big concern, because living with the rockets, we live with the rockets many years, and we know how to manage it, and we can bear it. We don't want to bear it. We don't want to live like that, but we can bear it. But the issue of the infiltration, this is the most dangerous issue now for people that are living where we live. Yes, this is the biggest issue. In order to bring back families with children to live on the border or half a mile from the border, they need to feel secure.
So if infiltration is the biggest concern, looking at the lessons from October 7th, where many of the security squads in the Yishuvim and the Kibbutzim were downgraded in terms of their access to weapons and ammunition, has that been changed up north where people have potentially more access and more supplies?
Well, first of all, I need to say that also in October 6th, the security teams here in the north, they had enough ammunition and enough guns and everything, not like in the south. And I can say today that everyone is very well equipped with everything that we need. And if something will happen, we will be part of the fighting troops that are fighting in the north by defending our houses.
That's so interesting to hear that already on October 6th, you were better prepared up north. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Is it that the state understood or believed Hezbollah was a greater threat than Hamas?
There is no question about it. Hezbollah is a much bigger threat than Hamas. And the plan of Radwan force to infiltrate to Israel, it's not a secret. There are videos that Hezbollah released 3, 4, 5 years ago about their intention to take over part of the Galil. So there is nothing new in it. And this is why we were much better prepared than the South.
Okay, thank you to all of our viewers who are sending in questions and comments. And I'll just note, we put in the chat in the beginning of the briefing, not only the registration link to join our mailing list, but also a new WhatsApp community that we have. You can join that WhatsApp community and you can get updates from IDSF. We take clips of these briefings and we send them out in that WhatsApp community so that you can review the critical parts, the most important sound bites, and also share them with your friends and family. So everyone is encouraged to do that. A number of people shared with me an article in the Jerusalem Post where they quote Colonel Ronen Cohen, and Gidi, I know you know him quite well. And Colonel Cohen was a little skeptical about the IDF's capacity to fight a two-front war, and also skeptical about the government's interest or willingness to engage Hezbollah. So Gidi, I'm curious if you could respond to that.
I will start with the second question. The government, I think that since the beginning of this conflict, the Prime Minister Netanyahu said that we are not looking to fight in two fronts, and we are not looking to fight against Hezbollah. It was said then, and I think it was said lately a few days ago. But this is a lot of, it has to be with politics and all this, and I don't want to get into politics. The first question, well, Ronen, I appreciate him very much. I know him very well. We used to work together many years, and I agree with him partly, because at the end of the day, if we will not have any other option, we will do it. Of course, that it's a very big challenge for us. It's a very big challenge, but it's a challenge that we are preparing for it. It's a challenge that we need to know how to do it. And if we will not have any other option, we'll do it.
Now, when he says that this is the first war in Israel that we're unable to fight on two fronts, is he commenting on the growth of Hezbollah, or on something that happened to the IDF in the 20 years that when in the past it was potentially possible?
In the last 20 years, the IDF went through a period that the army was getting smaller and smaller, and the army, the IDF today is smaller than it was 20 years ago. Now it happened, part of it, because the security budget cannot be such a big budget like it is. And second, because we, the people of Israel, we thought that we are in a period of, we're going to make peace with all the Middle East. Well, it's partly true, because when you are speaking about peace with countries in the Middle East, we are in peace with the Emirates, we are at peace with Jordan, with Egypt, we are dealing now with Saudi Arabia. So yes, but what we forgot is that there are still many terrorist organizations in the Middle East, not only Hezbollah and Hamas. Let me remind you that ISIS almost took Iraq and Syria 3 years ago, and is still fighting. ISIS is still fighting in Iraq and in Syria. And behind all of this, there is the state of Iran that is trying to make it grow. So we forgot that we are living in a very complicated and dangerous neighborhood, And now, after what happened in October 7, it reminded us that we should have a very strong IDF, and the area of fighting for our country is not over yet. So we'll keep on fighting. This is our country. We don't have another place to go.
For sure. I am absolutely in agreement with that, as is, I'm sure, our viewers. And it's really, by the way, inspiring to be able to speak with you while you are on the northern border. You have chosen to be at home. So, of course, thank you for all you are doing up there. There are reports that Israel has been very active in destroying some of the anti-aircraft defenses in southern Lebanon, such that the IDF or the IAF now has air superiority in southern Lebanon in a way they didn't have when the war broke out in October. Any thoughts on what's going on there?
No, the IDF had and have air superiority in Syria and Lebanon before October 7. What happened is that Hezbollah tried to use the anti-aircraft missiles that they got from Syria, and this is why Israel decided to attack the sites of the anti-aircraft missiles, which are located mostly in Baalbek. This is what happened. But there is still air superiority in Lebanon and Syria.
That is good to hear. Now, from your perspective on the northern border, what is the greatest threat to Israel right now?
Well, the greatest threat, of course, it's Hezbollah. There is no other threat. The Lebanese army is not a threat. The Lebanese army is something like a division, a small division, which is with not modern weapons. The Syrian army is very weak. So the real issue is the Hezbollah, the threat of the Radwan force to try to infiltrate Israel, the quantity of rockets that they can shoot into Israel. This is the big threat.
And what about Iran or any of the Iranian proxies that are right now in Iraq and Syria? You're saying that's not the focus. The focus is Hezbollah.
The Hezbollah is also an Iranian proxy. All the other proxies that are in Syria and in Lebanon, you cannot compare them to Hezbollah. And it's part of the threat, but the heart of the threat is Hezbollah itself.
Thank you, Gidi, for taking all these questions. We have a few questions that just came in, and we have a few minutes left. So one question with regards to what is the UN currently doing in southern Lebanon? And then the second question is, what role are American forces playing right now in the north of Israel?
There are no American forces in the north of Israel. The US is not taking part in this fighting. It never happened, and I hope it will never happen also. It will never will. What did you ask me?
Okay, the first question was the role of the UN.
The UN. Well, the UN, the UNIFIL, is here from 1977. And after the war, the Second Lebanese War in 2006, they were supposed to have here a force of 15,000 soldiers of the UNIFIL. They never reached to the 15,000. They are about 9,000 or 10,000. And they are not capable to confront with Hezbollah. When we finish here, send me the link to the WhatsApp group, and I will put there a video from about a year ago. Then you will see how Hezbollah treats the UN in Lebanon. And you will see that UNIFIL is not trying to enforce the 1701 resolution in South Lebanon. I don't know if they want or they did or they do not want, but they are not capable to do it. This is the most important. And this is why my idea is that the UN alone, when we are talking about let's go back to the 1701, there is no 1701. 3 weeks after signing the pact, or after the resolution that was taken in the UN, already the Hezbollah was bringing ammunition to South Lebanon. So there is no really capability of the UN to enforce Hezbollah to obey this resolution. It's a problem.
For sure. So, final question. Do you see any diplomatic solution occurring with Hezbollah, or is a war really the only option on the table?
The war should be the last option, of course. But in the other hand, I don't see any diplomatic solution or a solution that can be enforce the solution on Hezbollah that someone is talking about. The ambassador that is coming from the US and I forgot his name, he didn't bring anything new, apparently. There is need to be something, some new diplomatic idea, which I don't see it right now, that might be good for both sides. Although Hezbollah says that he's not going to stop fighting until the end of the Gaza campaign. So there is
Colonel
no
Gidi Harari, thank you so much for joining this briefing.
Thank you very much.
I know our viewers have certainly appreciated all of this, and thank you for what you are doing for Israel, for the entire Jewish people on our northern border. Thank you to all of our viewers and supporters for tuning in. We will be back with you next week, Monday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Until then, stay safe, stay strong. Take care, everyone.
Thank you very much.